schedule for seeing stops set by nothing. I think that's identified. What I would like to I came from New Jersey, and a large Chinese population from New Jersey. I moved here, and so possible. Also, I have some relatives there. One's a young man that graduated from high school and graduated from GPI. He applied to GPL and Guyana First School. So we have to have a call for people. So the youths we need to make sure these
Okay, thank you for those questions. I do not consider them tricky questions. I think it's from their hearts. As it relates to registration, as you know, registration will close. I think it's August, not 10. The GCAM chair will have ordered the registration to be closed. But there is coming up, I think, the 1st of October, public please check this, where you have another chance of voting. But, you know, we always have continuous registration. But like everything else, only when there's an election, then everyone will be busy. But generally, no one pays attention during the time that, you know, it's registration time. So there is an opportunity for those who have not been registered to get registered very soon. I think my memory serves me about a month. So we have 4 weeks to get registered. It's normally 2 weeks to finish an objection, but I think it's the next 10 years. And so you have a chance to let your relatives know that those who have not been registered to go and get registered. Dual citizenship, what I've made to understand, or what I was advised, that you have to be in Guyana during the house registration to be on the list. So we're talking about we're preaching credible elections, credible lists. But of course, it keeps us to the rules to say that we don't, we can't take any person off the list. So there was this point of merging this. Even though it's for the courts, as we say, we shouldn't have it merged because, okay, we went about taking registration of those who are here present right now. And so that's what we know about. If you do not take technically, you should be registered. As I said before, it's before the courts, but what we're trying to do with the old list and this new list, we may have to do cross-reference in terms of our fingerprints. All right, because you know there are many things, there are persons with more than one names and so on. So what we're doing is to make sure that their fingerprints, there's only one fingerprint, you know, belonging to a person. So that's where we are right now, and that's what has been engaged in GCAM's attention. They have been working very assiduously to ensure that the cross-matching, as we call it, in simple terms. So those who would have registered, if your name is on the old list, so they, you know, make sure it's one and not more than one of you. So if you want to get registered, you have to take a flight, go down there, and preferably, you know, and get registered. Investing in the oil industry, Guyana belongs to all of us. All right, as we say, your neighbor string with a, you know, born there, your neighbor string, you know, is there. And so it's only open for business to any persons from the diaspora. In fact, I think I can't remember his name, persons who from America here have gone down, the person has gone down, and to be part of the, you know, I know what part of Exxon and what parties, then I couldn't remember offhand. But our persons who from here, from Texas, from other places, who have already gone down to be part of the oil sector. It's in the various stages, but you have various in terms of the hotel, in case of if you want to capacity building, there are different forms. Of course, Exxon itself, they have their own program. But of course, I've seen many Guyanese playing different roles in being part of this oil and gas program. Cash transfers, we believe, of course, rather than give a man a fish, teach him to fish. And so, as I mentioned before, jokingly, that it's not only a little bit of oil, it's a lot of oil. And we really don't have the population to spend that money. So of course, we have the Sovereign Wealth Fund, and which we have already set aside. Some of the money will be going there, so your children and grandchildren will have time to come enjoy part of the suite. But in terms of, it's still under review. I know Mr. Clive Thomas would have spoken at length, and I've seen Mr. Hines, various persons would have commented on it. I would say it's in progress where we still continuing how we're going to actually do this cash transfer. So I don't want to give myself liberty right now to say, well, we're going to do A or B. But I know it's under active consideration, and some of the players, the economists are deciding how best it will filter down to the ordinary man. Youths, the problem with the youths, of course, when we went into power, there was 40% unemployment. Since that time now, I don't have the statistics on hand, but it has been reduced. And we've had several programs, vocational programs. Of the Kuro, we have opened that vocational training center. And apart from that, some of the vulnerable communities, we have an ongoing program. And these programs have been intersectoral, where social protection and, we have been working assiduously to ensure that our youth, because they are important to us, and they are our future leaders. And so we have worked very assiduously to ensure that we get them employed. And so what we have noticed that persons just rather than lying in the corner, they have been entering the police force and even the army, as we know it, the Guyana Defense Force. And so going into schools, the Report College of Education, because my president is big on education. And so we have seen persons gainfully employed. And so we are attending to the youths. It's very top on our priorities. And so we have been working assiduously to ensure that the unemployment rate is decreasing.
Yeah, good evening, Madam Minister. I'm sorry, but the fact that I'm seated is not a sign of disrespect. It's brought on by physical problems. My name is Colin Moore, and I'm a member of the diaspora. I would like to welcome you to the great borough of Brooklyn, euphemistically referred to as the Co-Operative Republic of Guyana. Madam Minister, we are really glad to see you because it gives an opportunity to conduct a dialogue. The first question I have to you is this. Your predecessor, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, used to come to New York here almost every year for the last 10 years. And at that time, he was busily engaged in warding off the attempts by Venezuela, of course, to control the territory of Guyana. Luckily for us, that problem has subsided into the background, but it has been succeeded by another problem that is just as formidable, and that has to do with the problem of global warming. As a matter of fact, I don't want to throw some pessimism, but scientists from the United Nations have estimated that in the part of the Caribbean where we live, that the height of the seas, the Caribbean Sea, will rise by another 10 to 15 feet within the next decade. For a country like Guyana, a coastal like Guyana, which is already below the sea level, this will constitute serious problems to the cities that are on the coastline. So my question to you is has the government prepared a program to, if possible, relocate many of our cities to the interior areas of Guyana? The second question I have for you is this, that like most Guyanese, I am very enthusiastic over the prospect of the development of oil, but oil creates certain problems. And one of the problems that's created is that it creates what is called a carbon footprint. In other words, it creates serious challenges to the environment. So my question to you, Madam Minister, is if your government, including yourself, has developed specific proposals to encourage the development of the green economy while at the same time reducing the carbon footprint of the air, which will be brought on by, of course, the tremendous increase in the exploitation of oil. Thank you very much.
Good evening, Madam Minister. I have two very quick questions. The first is, there was previously, when I say previously, the previous government, and then more recently, under the previous Minister of Foreign Affairs, some work around diaspora policy. I heard very recently that this was being discussed as to who, quote unquote, owns it between Foreign Affairs and another ministry. So the question is, where are we with that as a country in order to formally engage diaspora in economic development? That's the first question. And the second question related to that builds on the previous question about investment. So unfortunately, for a lot of people, the idea of being able to move back to Guyana to physically start a business isn't feasible. And so people, for example, here in the States can be part of the society, part of economic development by being investors in stocks. We have a stock market. It's functioning on a limited basis now. In order for companies to be listed on the exchange in Guyana, they have to be earning 2.3 million US dollars. This significantly limits any new IPOs. So the question is there going to be an effort with all of this interest in investing in Guyana to revisit that rule, which is, I'm certain, handled by the Bank of Guyana?
Good evening, Minister. Two quick questions. Currently, right now, I'm invested in the agriculture sector in where I have a business partner who lives right in the presently. My biggest problem is that when actually it's pig I'm invested in, right? Get into the market. There's a third party, where we would say in Guyana terms like a tout, where we as the farmers get the product. You have people who don't have any business or any, in a farm. They're crippling my business. So what is the government planning to do towards ramping out that middleman where somebody said, oh, I know someone I could put you on, but they devaluing my product. That's my biggest problem. And then back to the question before, as coming to Guyana and having a bank account where it's a lot of red tape in terms of getting access in banking your money and so forth. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your questions. My 10 years physically challenged. The Venezuela issue, it's very much current. Even today, prior to my coming here, myself and the Foreign Secretary, Mr. Greenwich, we were more or less engaged at the Commonwealth level as well as in the CARICOM level as to the status of the Venezuelan Guyana issue, border issue. As you know, Venezuela, from time immemorial, they've been claiming, Venezuela's been claiming 2/3 of our territory, especially Mexico. And so we have tried to reach out to them, using our good officers, and saying that's okay. It's not so. And in fact, in some cases, they were doing maps to say they're not including Guyana as part of their territory, Venezuela. Of course, you remember we have three neighbors: northwest Venezuela, to the south Brazil, and to the eastern side we have Suriname. And so we've decided that now that we found oil, that's serious business. And they've say not a blade of grass, the song says. So we have decided, listen, we have been talking to the Venezuelan back and forth, back and forth. And so we brought it to the United Nations. And so the Secretary General would have placed our case in front of the International Court of Justice, the ICJ, and that's where it is right now. We would have put forward our suggestions and our memorials, we call it, and Venezuela, in a particular date, will have to give a memorial. They didn't show up, and they would want us to abandon our what we had put forward to the ICJ. And so that's where it is. And so we've decided that we're going to, simple language, we're going to say, okay, we will ask the United Nations and the ICJ to continue the oral hearings. And so we hope that it will come to some closure once and for all, when the ICJ will have ruled. And we're hoping that it's going to be in our favor. So that's where it is. It's real, it's current. In fact, not too long ago, our Venezuelan was so agitated that they claim, I think her name was from Russia, Maria Zahora, who was speaking to the youth forum, who said that we're trying to destabilize Maduro's government. We're at the Essequibo there, we are training soldiers, some of the migrants will come over so that they can go back to destabilize Maduro. So we had to let them withdraw that statement and let them know it's utterly false. I mean, we want to obey the rule of law and mutual respect. That's always the way we go. So we would like that the ICJ, we have gone all lengths and breadth to ensure that we see peaceful settlement. My president was at the forefront of this, but to some extent, and right now there is no, I won't say light at the end of the tunnel. So we've decided we are waiting patiently to the rule of ICJ, and we hope that once and for all we can say that definitely, Essequibo is ours. And of course, that's where the oil is, and so that's where it is. But apart from that, we have been humanitarian side. We have had about 10,000 migrants coming over to Guyana. We do have all the porous frontiers there, the borders, and they come through Bartica side and Mabaruma and those areas. And so far we have had about 10,000 migrants, that's according to our counting, but of course IOM, Americans have different way of calculating and they may think it's more. But we have, given them temporary stay. We have also engaged their children. We have asked our teachers to teach them English language because they're Spanish speaking. And so we are doing our part. But as it relates to our border issue, we are very serious because a lot of it is at stake. And so we want to go to the ICJ and we look forward to that ruling. As it relates to global warming, we know it's indeed global, that's an issue. Climate change, the UN had an entire day, devoted to that, Climate Action Summit. And so there are back and forth propositions and deliberations and submissions made on how best we can improve the situation. Of course, Guyana is low coastal belt, and of course most of our population is in that area. I don't want to say that we are safe in the way that most of these catastrophes and disasters and is spared. But like everything else, we need to be prepared and stay prepared. And you're quite right that maybe we should go more in the highland regions and those areas where I would say almost immune to disasters. But sometimes these disasters they're becoming unpredictable. And so they really know where is safe. But we just prayers, and I guess good sense will prevail with planting mangroves and try to build smart hospitals. And we're working with our friends from PAHO and other agencies, international agencies, to see how we can really be climate smart. And so that's where we are, and we're just working and praying that good sense will prevail, and we'll be able to do the best we can in the circumstances that we were able to eventually, because it's nature. Nature is also rebelling. So we're hoping that we will continue to be spared, do our best, and pray that it will always divert to other areas and not come to Guyana. So that is for the smart hospitals and the smart places that we're trying to have so that we can be ready in case of a disaster. We have been working with Sedema and the other places where to make ourselves ready. And coming back to the oil spills, the next question, the person spoke about oil and if we're ready for those, any disasters in terms of oil spills. I know Exxon, they have been working assiduously to ensure that they have drills, and in case of any oil spills, I can also say we are ready in that way. Coming back to oil, of course, that's going to be our economy is going to go up. We're going to have transformative changes, but we don't want to give up our agriculture, because it's something called a Dutch disease, where you focus on oil and forget agriculture. And so FCH program is still alive, food, feed, clothe, and house yourselves. And what we're looking forward to now is diversification in our agriculture, having other crops. So parallel, as we're working with our oil and gas sector, we're also continuing with our agriculture. So it still takes one of the top priorities. And of course, I mentioned the green state development strategies and our green economy. Of course, we look at renewable energy. And so I was very happy when I went to the UN today that even the water bottles, getting rid of single-use plastic, and they have boxes. So we have to be, retrained our thinking, to go back to our scissors and papers and bottles, not this kind of plastics and cycle. Diaspora engagement. Guyana looks forward to diaspora engagement. As I said before in my speech, we need you. At the CARICOM level, we have been working, in fact, Mr. Gonzalez, the president of St. and the Grenadines, I think, spearheading that, diaspora engagement and diaspora policy at the CARICOM level, where we're looking at Africa, Brazil, and CARICOM. And after meeting it today, we want to include India to make it include in our diaspora. So we're big on the diaspora. Of course, we're still looking at, when you go back, the ease of doing business. There's an index, and we're hoping that we will improve in that index. The thing is, many of us would have remained in Guyana. And so many of our friends would have come over to Guyana, to America, where it's developed, right? We are developing. So there is a line of demarcation, developing, develop. So I know when you come to this level, going back home, you can't really fit in. I know what it is, but just be patient with us. It's a work in progress, and we're getting there. We're not there as yet, but we're getting there. And if you have the capacity and the skills, you know where the gaps are. Going to and fro, and you see that we need help in this particular area, but try a lot. Because we're all optimistic that we're all guiding. We're doing our part, but it can be accelerated with your assistance in that regard.
For those people still waiting to ask questions, can we keep it down to one question each and not keep it so long so we can actually hear words from the minister, please? Thank you.
Okay, Governor Minister, good evening. Welcome to Brooklyn. My name is Leslie Brand. I know we have one question. I just want to quickly say that I hope we don't have a repeat of what happened to you as our president. But something will be done to ensure that things don't happen again. Because if it were the other way around, it would be a different story. Just quickly, I know that the EU and the US and UK signed a joint statement. They made a joint statement with regards to election date not being arrived at. And it has since then been arrived at because I see you said it's March 2nd. They had made what I consider, or what can be considered veiled threats about our economic and I had it here, I wanted to quote them directly, but in any case, they were saying that it compromises development across all areas, including infrastructure, education, health, and social services, and it also hinders our ability to support Ghana's development needs or development needs. Now, I'm asking the question, since now the date has been, we have the date for the election, have things changed? Have they said anything differently? All right, are those threats still standing? Have they agreed? Are they, cohorts with the date? Did they agree to the date? Because I know we depend on them for certain things, whatever we say. That's one big question. And the second one is just about security in Guyana. A lot of people who want to go back are concerned about security, just walking the streets and the crime rate. So just what I need to address that.
Good evening, Current Minister. It's been a number of moments. State of New Jersey. I would hope that the next time you come to this country, I hope that you understand that there's a large population of Guyanese in the state of New Jersey. I would love to entertain. As an individual from the diaspora, or a diaspora individual who's Guyanese, the president said just what you said, we need you. But there are some conditions and there is some interference with our ability to engage Guyanese at home. I would like you, when you return to Guyana, I would like you to speak to the ministers, tell them to respect the people who send them barrels, send them remittance. We still send them. It's very disrespectful, the power from. I think most of our ministers should be censored. My question to you, Community Minister, it's got to do with agriculture, land development, and villages in Guyana. Over the years, lands were being surveyed, and I'm talking about black villages. Folks were able to obtain the titles. For some reason or the other, I don't know. My father was poor. I went to school in the hospital, Amanda. And what I'm saying is that none of these villages, people were unable to get the titles to their land. During the tenure of the PPP, they seize land and they give it away to the constituency. Up to now, villages, black villages in particular, are still waiting to get the land title for unsurveyed land and surveyed land. What I would like to see you do when you return home is to activate or to make it possible that all the villages on the west coast of the East, the people who are entitled to the land title, get the land title. Thank you.
Good evening, Honorable Minister. Good evening. Every nation stands upon. And I would like to know what our government is doing to truly establish culture once more in Guyana. And when I say culture, I'm not just speaking about the dance and the performance. It is culture that destroyed Guyana, and it is culture that will have to be used to restore it to the place where all Guyanese can benefit from all the resources of Guyana. And as it relates to Essequibo region, Guyana's sovereignty was established by the Dutch and Spain. That's where our sovereignty was established. Why is it that we are speaking at the United Nations and we coming from the establishment between Britain and Venezuela? When at that time, when our sovereignty was established, Venezuela was not a nation. It was being ruled by Spain. When our sovereignty was established.
We're just going to have one more question before you start to answer. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Minister. My name is Denzel Hamilton. I have two quick questions and not two quick episodes. From the oil that we extracted, the amount that you spoke about, what we have in place for environmental problem for the byproduct of that oil? What we have in place? The second question is, if you give everyone a substantial amount of money, would people be seeking employment from that oil?
After these answers, we're just going to take the last two questions for the evening.
Thank you very much for your questions. The question of crime. Well, in all fairness to the Public Security Minister, I know every week we go to Cabinet and he has given us a report. You know, crime is down. We had piracy and this goes on, murders. And from the time we've come into power, there is a constant decrease in the number of some of these behaviors. And so I know for sure that you can walk Guyana very peacefully without, at least with ease, compared with before. What occurred at Pegasus was really an unfortunate situation. We don't want to make one case and make a general statement, but it would appear, I mean, from your point of view, like a breach of security. But it's a work in progress, it's under active consideration. I know the public security has mentioned it and take note of it. The president himself has also elaborated that something must be done and someone has to pay, so to speak, if I have to quote his word, paraphrase his words. But the idea behind it was more than just a breach of security, because they were agitating, was opposition protesters. And so they are using all strategies for us to have confrontation with them. So as much as you want to do something, you still have to be very careful, because they're working all around the clock to see how we can have a confrontation. And we're saying we're not going down that road. So I guess that's the price of pay of not wanting to retaliate. So, but of course, I take your point that it's something shouldn't be repeated, and I hope it will not be repeated. Re-election date, of course, I didn't want to go. It's a political this afternoon, but you would have known coming on from the no confidence votes in December 21, 2018. We had gone to different tiers of the legal system. Of course, the judicial system is respected, and so we went first to the Supreme Court, to the Appeal Court, and then to the CCJ. And so you'd have been following very carefully. The Chief Justice and the Speaker of the Assembly would have said, okay, it was duly passed, the no confidence vote. But then when you reach the Appeal Court, said it needed 34 rather than 33 to pass the no confidence vote. That was reversed when it went to the CCJ. Following on that, we had the consequential orders. So right now we're a government, but we acknowledge our interim status, interim government, and so our troubles have been curtailed unless it's necessary. And we can't we can go back to take money from the parliament. We would normally go and ask for this money and supplementals and so supplementary. And so we really can't do that right now. And that's where we're wishing that good sense will prevail and we have the 2/3 majority so we can, extend the date for Parliament, because if it's constitutionally due in March and then in September, and now we're going into October. So we definitely need the opposition, both of us, both sides, to go back into the assembly, and so that we can extend the date. Whether that will come through, it's a different matter, but that's the way we want to go. Now, as you know, we have different ambassadors in the country. We have persons from Canada, high commissioners and so on. And so they are good friends and neighbors. But the rule of law, if we esteem the rule of law, it's non-interference and non-intervention. We can go into someone's country and tell them how to do things, And so we've been hearing different comments, what we must do, how we must do it. We respect their opinions. We don't always agree with what they have said. But we haven't asked them to retract their statement, but they've seen that we are making every effort to abide by the rule of law. One of the Constitution, I think it's 106 or 107, it says that the president cannot come out of power unless another president is sworn in. So what are we going to do? Just come out now, who's going to rule the country? Business as usual, we have monies to pay to public servants and so who's going to run the country? So we just come out and sit down and say, okay, so who runs the country? We do that. All right, so we've made every effort to obey the rule of law, and we're planning elections. Of course, we cannot say when elections going to be A, B, C, or D at a particular date. It's the GCOM, or we call it Elections Commission. It's an autonomous body. They're the ones who guide the president as to make a proclamation at the date. So, retired Justice Claudette Singh would have said, okay, I read it myself, that in month end of February next year, that's when they can prepare to have credible elections. And if they are saying, they're the ones who have the commissions from both sides, from our side, the APNU side, and the opposition side, if they are saying they won't be ready until February, who are we? Right? So we're not going to be, was it, I think Nigeria, where you go the day for the elections and then ballot paper not printed. So what are you saying? Let's have elections tomorrow, let's go print our own ballot paper and really, then, all right, so, states that they have to have nominations, there's a process, So March 2, Elections Commission, Ms. Justice Singh would have said, okay, credibly elections can be done by the end of February, and February has 29 days, it's a leap year, and we say the next week, 29, the 2nd, around that time, we're going to hold credible elections, so we hope by that time, the ballot paper and different things will be, printed and things will be put in place, necessary things for elections. In addition to that, we have been working with other states, the Commonwealth, to see how best we can fast forward the date and having some of this machinery, the center, the various players, to assist us, because as I said before, we are a developing country. We're not so developed like you, put your finger and, prints are different. We're getting there. And so at this point in time, we have to, have our ballot printed out of Guyana and so forth. So it's a process, it has started, and March 2, that seems to be the date, and then work towards it. And those who have not been registered, the opportunity to register, and so that we're able to go ahead and win the elections, and so that the transformative changes that have begun in the country will continue.